home, your work, your daily routine. To you, it's your life. To an unwanted observer, it's a playbook. Tonight, we explore 3 accounts where simple observation seemingly developed into obsession. And that obsession led to deeply unsettling events. The feeling of being watched is a primal fear. But what happens when the watcher is no longer content to stay in the shadows? Our first case begins with Liam, a software developer. His apartment was his sanctuary, a fortress of smart technology he'd built himself. Lights, locks, temperature, all controlled by his voice, his phone, his presence. The first anomaly was small, almost laughable. The thermostat. He kept it at a precise 68 degrees Fahrenheit. One Tuesday, he came home from work to find the apartment sweltering. The display read 85 degrees. He checked the logs. According to the system, the change was authorized by him at 2:17 p.m. But he was in a server room across town, his phone locked in a Faraday bag, standard procedure for his job. A glitch. A simple, explainable bug. That's what logic tells you. But a deeper instinct whispers something else. A week later, it was the music. He was woken at 3 a.m. by his smart speaker playing a single song on a loop. An old, discordant lullaby. The volume was just above a whisper, a maddening, intimate sound in the total darkness. He shouted, "Stop!" The music obeyed. Silence flooded the room, thick and heavy. He sat up in bed, his heart hammering against his ribs. The smell of ozone, like after a lightning strike, hung in the air. He spent the next day rewriting his entire network's security from scratch. New passwords, 2-factor authentication on everything. He felt a sliver of control return. That night, an email arrived. From his own address. This is modern horror. The ghost isn't in the house, it's in the machine. And the machine is everywhere. The email had no subject. The body contained a single line of text. I liked the old password better. Below it was an attached audio file. He clicked play. It was the lullaby, but this time it was being hummed. And underneath the humming, he could hear his own sleeping breaths. Panic set in. He had a security camera in his living room, but he never activated it. He scrambled to open the app, his fingers fumbling on the screen. The feed was live. It showed his couch, his coffee table, and 2 feet in worn-out boots standing just at the edge of the frame. He didn't breathe. The feet took a step, then another. They turned and walked slowly towards his bedroom door. Liam sat frozen in his desk chair, listening. He heard the faint click of his smart lock on the front door disengaging. Then, silence. Liam moved out the next day. The police found no signs of forced entry. To them, it was a series of elaborate digital pranks. But Liam knew he was sharing his life with a ghost. Sometimes the invasion isn't digital, it's physical. An intrusion not on data, but on one's sense of self. This brings us to Clara's account. Clara was an artist who lived in a 4th-floor walk-up. Her apartment was a chaotic canvas of her life. Paint-splattered floors, half-finished sculptures, books stacked in precarious towers. She cherished her clutter. It started with things she could have sworn she hadn't misplaced. A single silver earring, a gift from her grandmother. A specific paintbrush, its bristles worn in a way she loved. A faded photograph of her as a child. She chalked it up to her own disorganization. She was a creative type, after all. She tidied up, but the feeling of being off balance remained. A subtle wrongness, like a painting where the perspective is skewed by a single, almost imperceptible degree. The behavior in this case seems to fit the profile of a collector. The initial goal doesn't appear to be direct harm, but rather to possess pieces of the target's life. The first package arrived on a Monday. A small brown cardboard box with no return address. Her name and address were written in neat, precise block letters. Inside, nestled on a bed of black velvet, was her missing earring. It was clean, polished. It looked more perfect than she remembered. A tiny typed label was glued to the velvet beneath it. Artifact Meta 1. Silver earring. Circa 1985. Her blood ran cold. A week later, another box. This one contained the paintbrush, mounted in a shadow box frame like a rare butterfly. The label read, Artifact Ornver 7 Sable Brush. Evidence of creation. The numbering implied there were others. 5 others. It's as if the perpetrator is creating a private museum of their target's life, acting as the curator of an exhibition that, presumably, only they will ever see. Clara contacted the authorities. They were reportedly sympathetic, but could offer little help. With no explicit threats or signs of forced entry, one officer suggested it might be a strange prank. But for Clara, this felt like a profound violation, a quiet, methodical intrusion into her world. She became hyper-vigilant, checking her locks constantly. She searched every inch of her apartment for a hidden camera or microphone, finding nothing. But the feeling of being a specimen under glass intensified with each passing day. The final package was larger. Inside was the faded photograph of her as a child. But it was different now. It had been professionally restored, the colors vibrant, the creases gone. The label was the most chilling yet. Artifact number 12, the Genesis. And in the corner of the box, she saw it. A tiny, blinking red light. A GPS tracker. The implication was clear. The collection was nearly complete, and the final piece was her. Clara reportedly moved across the country and changed her name, giving up her art in the process. Our final account explores a different kind of unnerving experience. Not theft, not invasion, but something akin to replacement. What if an observer didn't want someone's things, but their very identity? Arthur was 72 years old, a widower. He had lived in the same small beige house for 40 years. His life was a metronome of routine. He woke at 6 a.m., got the paper at 6:15, watered his petunias at 8, and watched the evening news at 5. The house next door had been empty for a year. Then the Miller family moved in. A husband, a wife, roughly the same age as Arthur's own children would have been. They seemed pleasant enough. They waved, and Arthur waved back. The first oddity was the newspaper. One morning, Arthur went to his driveway at 6:15 a.m. to find Mr. Miller already there, retrieving his own paper. Arthur nodded. Mr. Miller smiled and said, "Can't miss the morning news, right?" Proximity is a strange thing. We trust our neighbors because we have to. Their lives are lived only feet from our own. Then, the petunias. Arthur had been growing the same midnight velvet petunias for a decade. A week after the Millers moved in, they planted a row of the exact same flower along their walkway. "Saw yours and just had to have them," Mrs. Miller had chirped. It was subtle, this mirroring. Mr. Miller started parking his sedan in the exact same spot in his driveway that Arthur did. They began putting their trash cans out at the same time, on the same side. Small coincidences, easily dismissed. But they were accumulating. Arthur began to feel a creeping dread. He started changing his routine as if to test a theory. He watered his flowers at 9 instead of 8. The next day, Mr. Miller was reportedly outside with his hose at 9. The experience was profoundly disorienting for Arthur. This pattern of behavior can have a profound psychological impact. It's a process that seems aimed at undermining a person's sense of self by systematically mirroring their life. The breaking point came in the fall. Arthur woke one Saturday to the smell of paint fumes. He looked out his window. A team of painters was at the Miller's house. They were painting it beige, the exact shade of beige as his own. He stumbled outside, his heart racing. Mr. Miller was on his lawn, watching the painters, a placid smile on his face. He saw Arthur and waved. Great minds think alike, eh, Arthur? We just love the color so much. That night, Arthur couldn't sleep. He sat in his dark living room, staring out at the house next door. A light was on inside. He saw a silhouette in the window, watching him back. It felt like he was looking at a distorted, horrifying mirror. Arthur sold his house at a loss and moved into a retirement community. He had to escape his own reflection. The Millers are still there. 3 accounts. 3 lives seemingly derailed by obsession. It's an unsettling reminder that distress can be caused without any physical confrontation. In these cases, the unnerving element was simply being watched and waiting for what might come next. These accounts are a reminder of the importance of personal and digital security. Being aware of one's surroundings is always a wise practice.